Are we good? Hey guys, how's everyone doing? I'm so glad to have everybody on the chat. I see everyone there. Yeah, this is going to be a really good first show. Super happy to have Vinny and Priscilla on for the first episode. So, before we get into all of the chit chat, I just kind of want to tell you guys a little bit about why I decided to do this. So, start of pandemic 2020, came across this, crazy documentary about this guy who was talking about, making human initiated contact with ETs. And I was like, what the heck is this? Had to know more about it. Went on YouTube, started searching. So came across Vinny's page, Disclosure Team, got, into the subject. And then that's how I got to meet Priscilla, like through the chats. And so fast forward about like 3 years now, a little bit, 2.5, 3 years now, I am getting the chance to ask them questions now, which is really cool. So thank you, Priscilla. Thank you, Vinny, for doing this with me for the first time. And so, yeah, let's just go ahead and just get started on everything. First, just introduce yourselves to everyone. I know most of the people that are probably watching have a good idea of what it is you do, but yeah, just go ahead for the people that don't know. Priscilla, you can kick it off.
Hello, everybody. I'm Pricilla Stone, the host of Quantum Wytch YouTube channel and podcast, and I'm an early experiencer, UFO and occult researcher, and I guess phenomenologist now. So that's me.
Hey guys, I am Vinnie Adams. I am the creator and owner of Disclosure Team, member of UAP Media UK, also a phenomenologist, an ambassador for UAP Society, and all-round UFO nerd.
Cool deal. Awesome. Yeah, so that's, basically what I wanted to jump straight into was phenomenology because you guys, recently just got back from Colombia, did a whole, what was it, like 2 week um, just adventure out there and trying to figure out, you know, and study what these lights are all about. So, Priscilla, I'll go ahead and just ask you the first question as far as, what drew your attention to these mysterious lights, the glows, and everything. What got you interested to want to do a project like this and, spend that time to really investigate what this was?
Well, like you, I kind of found out about UAP land through Disclosure Team channel, and I met everybody that is in the chat and you. And I've always had an interest in the topic. But over time, a page emerged called UAP Colombia, and this man was just posting these crazy anomalous lights that were appearing on a mountain where he was, La Pina de Huayca. So from following that, it kind of, I just started sharing it because it was like amazing, whether it's something natural or something anomalous, it's still fascinating. And just learning more after watching season 1 of phenomenology about like the land and the folklore surrounding these lights, I was like, oh my goodness. And um, Ash reached out to me and asked if I would like to come, even for season 1, but I had COVID and it was kind of last minute. So I was like, I'm going for season 2, but I wasn't sure. And then I wasn't sure if I was going to go to season 2 because of, just the travel time. I'm a mom and, and I take care of my kids and they're little. So my husband's like, you have to go. And I was like, sweet. So I went and hung out with the crew.
Cool. What about you, Vinny? I know that you were, involved in season 1, and there's others in the team, of course. So, kind of same question, but a little bit different. What motivated you guys to like pick this topic in particular out of anything that you could have gone out there and research? What was it about this that made you want to dedicate your time to it?
That's a good question. I mean, doing the stuff that I had been doing with Disclosure Team and UAP Media, everything's online, and there's something to be said about getting out there and actually getting boots on the ground and putting in some work. And so in the very early days when UAP Colombia first kind of popped up for me on Instagram, and I received a message from Ash asking, I was aware of what was going on out there, and he wanted to have this Zoom call. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And I jumped on this Zoom call, not really knowing who Ash was. And so prior to getting on the call, I just did a bit of research on him and realized who he was and the TV work he'd done and the adventures all over the world that he'd been involved in. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I remember some of his shows from when I was younger watching them. And so I was like, this is serious. Like, so I got to hear what he has to say. So I had this Zoom call and he's like, I really want to put a team together to come out to Colombia and investigate these strange lights. And I'm there thinking, I mean, that sounds amazing. In my head, thinking it's never going to happen. Like, it's Colombia, it's a million miles away for me. But over the following 9 months, it really started taking shape and coming together. And so by the time we headed out in February of 2022, it was just we were doing it, and it was just super exciting. And here we are now.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, it's for both of you probably like a super long trip. So there's a lot of challenges that you guys are probably most likely presented with. So Priscilla, tell me a bit about that. What were those big challenges for you? What obstacles did, and Vinny, this one goes for you too afterwards, but what were the main challenges? What obstacles did you guys face? And then how did you guys overcome those?
Actually, it was really easy for me to get out there once everything was lined up, travel wise with tickets and all that. I was super excited, so that just kind of took over. I'd never been overseas before, so it was kind of like my world was like this big, and then it was like just exploded. So it was super easy for me. The only challenge for me, halfway through, I did start missing my kids, but I reminded myself they're fine, they're waiting for me at home. And then also the language barrier, because everybody thought I was Colombian everywhere we went. They start talking Spanish to me, and unfortunately I don't know. So that was both a compliment that people thought I was Colombian, but also like embarrassing that I didn't know Spanish. So for me, the language barrier was the most difficult part. I felt like I knew everybody already because of the team meetings, and then also just from seeing them online. And, like I met Dan in New York a few times, so that was like a natural. And then just, we see Vinny's face all the time, especially during the COVID times. He was always live. So I don't know. It wasn't hard for me. Once I was there, besides the language thing, it was just so immersive and exciting, and kind of like a fast-paced thing with time in between to relax. So it was perfect.
So you're like, hola, and then
yeah. Oh no, Dan had to come rescue me at the airport because like I was coming through the final checkpoint to get in, and this guy's talking to me in Spanish. Dan rescued me twice within my first 30 minutes of being there. And like my internet puck wasn't on, so I didn't have internet to do Google Translate. And I thought I was in trouble, but she was just asking me if that was my bag. And like Dan had to come with his Google Translate. So that was like the biggest challenge, is not having a translator. And I'm totally guilty of not learning enough in advance, because I learned some kind of like basic stuff. But then once you're there, it just all left me. Like I was just like, I don't know what I'm saying. Let's throw some French in from high school. Let's throw some weirdness in from whatever.
That's so crazy too that you say that, because I, just like as a fluent Spanish speaker, that's not something that crossed my mind, was that language barrier that you guys probably had to overcome. But yeah, so like Vinny, like when it comes to any challenges that you face as part of like the actual project, to go in and approach it from like a scientific kind of way, like scientific method from start to go. So what challenges did you have like in that sense?
I guess the main challenges came before season 1 for me, because season 2 was just, we'd done season 1, I knew what to expect. But prior to going out there the first time, over here in the UK, all you hear about on Colombia, you really see through mainstream media, and it doesn't always paint it in a good picture. It's all about the dangers and the violence and the turf wars and the gangs and things like that. And so, the thought of going out to Colombia, it's like, am I going to be safe? Even though Ash lives out there, are we just going to stand out like a sore thumb and be,
probably,
well, Yeah. So that it was getting my head around that. And then, but Ash is great. We had so many team meetings like we did this time around prior to being out there. And I guess what I needed to do as well was make myself aware of what I wanted to do when I'm there. Like, have a plan. Don't go out there blind and just wait around for 2 weeks trying to see these strange lights. Like,
Mm.
think about the culture, the folklore, the indigenous people, the stories, and try and just build something in my head about how I wanted to tackle it. And luckily, with all that preparation, it was smooth. And then going into season 2, as Priscilla said, knowing so many people already always helps. It's like a group of friends who have hung out for years, and that really helps ease us into kind of the work. We bounced off each other so well, and we're super productive. So yeah.
Yeah, that was actually another thing that I wanted to ask you about is like the people and, just the people that live there and have experienced all of these things. So, did you guys, come across or have conversations with people that were like, "Hey, this was my experience. This is what I've seen," and like, how was that like? Like, how was the public's reaction to you guys being there and investigating these things that they've probably been pondering in their minds for such a long time? Um, whoever wants to.
I'll take that because season 1 it really hit home that we would be, we did all the explorations around the countryside, the mountains and the kind of rural areas, but when you hit the little towns and stuff, like I said earlier, you stick out like a sore thumb, and word spreads fast. And we were literally walking through the town, and people were coming up and talking about UFOs and the spirits and things like that. It was just, there was clearly no stigma at all. People just wanted to tell you their experiences. They had full belief and faith in what they were saying was genuine and real. It wasn't like what you'd expect in, the US or in the UK. It was really, really nice to be able to talk freely and openly, and give people your time to kind of let them talk about it. And that is just a good round, an all round good feeling for both parties.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and yeah, just because like the local community, they probably have a lot of, like I said, a lot of stories, and they're probably really excited that you guys are there trying to figure out like really what it is. And so with that, and Priscilla, and both to Priscilla and Vinny, how did anything happen? Like, well, I mean, I know that we don't have the results of what season 2 is going to be talking about, or like what the results are, or what you guys saw, or how everything ends because it hasn't aired yet. But is there anything in particular that happened that changed your way of thinking, that like really just kind of mind boggled you and you saw things just in like a completely different way? Priscilla.
Go on, Priscilla.
Well, I can't say too much, obviously, but I think on a very human level, what changed for me was the viewpoint of how people take care of you when you're abroad like that, when you go with a good group or with a group of people that actually care about each other. There was not one point where I felt like I wasn't safe. There was not, and I'm in this country for the first time, right? Like, you know, so it was a little, you might think that it would have been scary at parts, but it wasn't. I never felt unsafe. The fact that my allergies were insane the whole time because everything's just so blooming there, and people were taking care of me like they were doing like, come here, let's steam your face because you can't breathe, or and it's just, I think that my big viewpoint of how people are, like, people actually, I mean, it just kind of gave me a little um, more faith in humanity. And even meeting the people when we were out and about in the different towns, everybody was very welcoming and friendly and just so accommodating. So I just think that was probably my big takeaway, without like the whole, giving anything away. But definitely seeing those parts of the world, just realizing that whether you're studying a anomalous light or studying humans or just existing as somebody outside of your home in another part of the world, that the world is so much more vast than we realize. And until you get out there, you will not have that feeling. You have to experience it.
Yeah, no, totally. And as you were saying that, back to the Spanish thing, I see where Benji over there is talking about donde está el baño? And that really made me laugh. So if I had a little smirk, like that's why. But yeah, Vinny, so for you, like anything that like changed you with the results, whatever they may be.
Again, I'm going to be careful what I say, so I'll kind of
You don't have
dodge.
to. It's
I'll
okay.
dodge the question
We will not
slightly,
tell.
and I'll say that obviously in season 1 we were in this valley looking at this mountain for these strange lights, and the one thing that really kind of blew my mind this time around was we traveled a lot further afield around the country. And what really stuck out is the abundance of mysteries and folklore. Everywhere you go, there is something either relating to UFOs, strange lights, cryptozoology, the paranormal. There's something everywhere you go, and it dates back hundreds of years, and it's everywhere. It's literally everywhere, and that really blew my mind. So, everywhere we went was an expansion of what we'd already done. But yeah, it really looking forward to maybe season 3, season 4, and so on. We can pick and choose where we want to go, what we want to research, because there is so much to tackle.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question is, so do you guys plan to pick up season 3 on the same subject? Do you want to continue to explore that further? Do you want to go do something else, like, and figure that out? Or so what are the next steps for that?
Yeah, of course, I want to continue. We've not got a conclusion on the strange lights on the mountain in the valley. So that is always going to be, for now, our main focus of whatever investigation we continue. Until we can get further down the line with that, it'll always be there. But I think, like I just said, there are other things that we can explore. So maybe next time we'll go to some new places again and still keep the main investigation in focus. Maybe this time we'll keep continuing to take out more advanced technical equipment to really gather more data, to really kind of get closer to the answers that we want. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. And so, last question to you, Priscilla, before I like kind of move on to the next subject. So, just because you have to go into it with a very, look at the data, let's look at the facts, let's look at this, did you ever feel at any point in time that maybe our scientific method, like the way that we go about proving these types of things, like that they can't be proven by our just ordinary methods, like the method, like, you know what I'm saying, like our scientific method that we have to go by? Do you feel like some of these like crazy paranormal strange things that happen, that if we almost, because science, like it's a man-made process that we have developed to understand our surroundings. So do you feel like at any point in time, like that maybe there's like a little piece of the puzzle that was missing because you were following it so like rigorously that way? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And, as a witch and somebody that is working on their Bachelor of Science, I always have both things in mind. And I think that until we exhaust our scientific method, then we should be very careful about treading into more experimental routes. And this is coming from somebody that has done the experimental things, CE5, all this stuff, right? Gateway process. I've done all these things, and that is very real to us. But to progress the subject forward and actually explain it, we might not have the scientific modalities to prove what we find until we have the technology that matches theirs. If it's a them, or they, a other. So we have to kind of do what we know for now and exhaust that. So say we get more, advanced equipment, and we go back and study more and more and more, do more experiments, and then nothing happens and around these lights, then it's kind of like, okay, now we can say that it might be something a little more esoteric or not as prosaic as we had hoped. So I think that we kind of have to play by the rules first, and then when you dabble in the things that are outside the rules, just make sure that you're able to represent it in a way that is feasible to all groups of people. Because if one, believer or spiritual person kind of like says something definitive without any science, then even if it's real, nobody's going to listen. You have to be able to speak to multiple audiences and move between these audiences in order to get a point across. I think that was respectable. and able to be given to the public.
Yeah, no, for sure. And a thought that just ran through my mind too is some of these things, like, you know, the unexplainable, the things that we can't explain, that we've always wanted to know the answers to. Sometimes I wonder if we're even as intelligent, like that intelligent, to be able to understand. And I'm gonna definitely give you a reference, and I'm gonna plug a little Disney reference in because I think it's a good example. Like, no, really, seriously, guys, don't laugh. But when Ariel, okay, she's collecting all of these like gadgets and stuff like under the sea, like, and she takes a fork and she's like, oh, like, look at this human thing, and she takes the fork and then she uses that as a brush, like she thinks it's a brush, right? So it's because like it's kind of the same. So leading to like the next topic now, getting more into current news and everything surrounding UAPs, that whole entire, um, you know, that whole entire thing. So um, we know now. So, Vinny, I know this is a question that's going to go to you because it's something that you just recently posted. So, there's new language that has been approved by the Senate Select Committee. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that and what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just start. Every year we get the National Defense Authorization Act, but we also get the Intelligence Authorization Act. And around the summertime, we start seeing the languages being put forward by the Senate and the House of Representatives. And it kind of goes back and forth for a few months before they finalize the language, which is then passed off to be signed into law. So today we saw the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence approve new legislation as part of the Intelligence Authorization Act that requires government contractors, former or current, that has in their possession materials or information relating to UAP, crash retrievals, materials or anything. When this is signed into law, they have 60 days to notify the director of Arrow that they have this materials or information, and then within 180 days they are then required to provide a comprehensive list of all non-Earth origin or exotic materials. They have to make it available to Arrow for assessment, analysis, and inspection. So, these are kind of your Lockheed Martins, your Raytheons, loads of different people like that. And then Arrow themselves then have to notify Congress within 30 days and like congressional committees. So, I mean, this is really big. And the fact that it was approved quite quickly shows that there wasn't much pushback on it. And they're really looking to dig into these special access programs, which adds weight to the stuff we've heard recently from David Grush and the whistleblowers, that the Congress, there's people here that clearly think there is something behind this talk that we've had recently. So, yeah, I think it's really exciting and really positive.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, also now with new funding and everything being approved, um, how, in my mind, like, how do you think that came about? Like, why all of a sudden the change? Because I know in the past they were trying to get the funding, it didn't go through. And so now we do have it. So, how did they get it? Like, how did that, in your opinion, how did that, why did that happen? Do you think?
I mean, we've got great people working behind the scenes in the subject: Christopher Mellon, Lou Elizondo, many, many people. But look at the Congress people, your Marco Rubios, your Gillibrands, who have consistently pushed on this topic for the last however many years, 2-3 years, to really push it forward. We've seen the language in the NDAA and the IAAs grow each year with more and more strict laws that really are trying to get to the bottom of it, to really weed out the secrets and at least get it into Congress so they know how to deal with it and it's not hidden anymore within the Pentagon or the DoD. We're getting a bit more oversight each year, slowly but surely. And here we are again. So, I just hope that the ball continues to roll.
No, absolutely. And so, Priscilla, as far as your just thoughts, like, I just want to get your thoughts on the entire thing because there's a lot that has happened in the last month, right? And these are topics that are like really kind of strange, and they're not everyday conversation that we just sit and we have these conversations with, like, our family and stuff, because and you know this too, is if I sit here and talk about these topics, like I feel like I sound so philosophical about it and great, and then like really my family's looking at me like I'm crazy, right? So like now that these things are out there, um, it's part of the news now, right? Like, how do you think that that's just gonna overall change like the conversation? Do you think it's like quickly going to just not become this weird thing that is just like for sci-fi people? Just anything. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know if it'll happen quickly, but it's going to happen over time. People still have not processed the reality that somebody respectable from the government that just said these are non-human intelligence. The material's exotic. It's being hidden from you illegally. Other dimensions might be involved with these intelligences, and to top that all off, mentioning the fact that there's some sort of agreement possibly with these intelligences and the governments of the world possibly. That sounds like sci-fi automatically to people. It hasn't sunk in, so I think that we have to keep talking about it and keep bringing up the NDAA languages as they come out and the things that are coming out kind of on the more mundane aspects of it. Because once people start doing their own research into the mundane stuff, they're going to find out really fast that there's more to it than just the government side. And I don't see the stigma dropping overnight, honestly, but there are some people that are going to talk about it now that would have been terrified to talk about it before. And there's going to be that small group of people that still laugh about tinfoil hats. But I think they'll kind of get over themselves when people start laughing at them because more and more evidence is coming out and your governments are taking it seriously, not just the US, but of the world.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally agree with you. And Vinny, so for some people that may not even know, like what Arrow is, what they're here to do, why it was formed, who formed it, just if you can just summarize for people that may not know, um, who are they? What do they do? What are they here to do? And then, and this is kind of two questions in one, but the alliance that we have as well, which I believe, if I'm correctly remembering, like the Five Eyes Alliance and how they all tie in together. Can you just tell everybody that may not know really like what that is?
Yeah, so Arrow, basically the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, is just really a follow-on from what we've seen in the past from other previous programs slash offices. So like the UAP Task Force, they generally collect cases from the military branches and analyze them scientifically. You know, Dr. Kirkpatrick is a scientist at his core. So that's kind of what they're doing. As far as the Five Eyes Alliance, this is just something that's been going on for decades, and it's, you know, related across not just UAP, but everything. You know, the close relationship between the US and Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and the UK. It's been something that we've been a part of since. I mean, I don't even know. It's, you know, since World War II, I'd imagine, if not before. So the one thing, the disconnect that we have seen from the Five Eyes is that nobody else is really talking about UAP other than the US. Yet anybody that really knows, these people have the conversations. They are talking about it privately behind closed doors. The UK still give out boilerplate responses when contacted for comments. I know the Canada has started speaking a lot more recently. Australia, they're on the edge, I feel. New Zealand, nothing. So there is a lot of disconnect there, but I think we'll start seeing more coming in the future from some of these other countries.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, with that being said, okay, so now I'm just gonna hit you with like kind of a, because we, you know, we talk about the facts and all of that good stuff, but like now I kind of want to like pick your brain a little bit and talk about just like the what ifs kind of thing. So in the context of Arrow, okay, so just like picture this: you're, it's a beautiful night. You're looking up at the night sky, and then you see something crazy. You know that it's not like, you know, a satellite or a plane or something. You just know that that's not what it is. So it's something different. So what do you do then? Like, what do you do then? Where does Arrow step in when it comes to these things?
They don't. It's not civilian orientated. You can't
Okay.
report your cases to Arrow. You would be expected, I suppose, to report it to people like MUFON or Enigma Labs. I don't know. It's a tough one because we've kind of, as a civilians, we've been left behind a little bit. Where do we go? There isn't a lot of trust within these civilian organizations and groups. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going to pass that to Pricilla.
Well, first of all, I'd obviously go live on Instagram and get everybody tagged. Yeah, I think the kind of consensus is you report it to MUFON, right? Or one of these places that's been around. But as Vinny said, not a lot of people are 100% trusting these established organizations that are available to civilians right now. So I think capturing as much evidence as possible, and then kind of going from there, because Arrow doesn't care about us just yet. I'm not saying they never will, but they, think about the whole world. They have to narrow these things down. And since the money's coming from like defense money, they have to focus on military stuff. As far as we go, MUFON's kind of like the gold standard, right, for reporting in the world. But gather the evidence and make sure you read everything before you submit your case to any organization, because sometimes that becomes their case after you do that. So just, be careful about who you tell. Evidence. Arrow's not going to help us little civilians just yet.
Yeah, and the funny part to that is, that's kind of their purpose, right? Is to figure out and understand what the origin is, what the purpose is, what the implication of it being here is, all of those things. So it's kind of crazy because also they've made a point to say that it's in an effort to be more transparent and to be as transparent as they possibly can, with whatever it is that they're finding to the public as well. So there's just so many questions that go around that whole subject. And again, I'm gonna just throw it out there. You're looking up, there's a UFO or whatever. It comes down, it lands right on your back porch, and it's like, hey, take me to your leader. Who are you going to take it to? Who are you going to take this to? Where are you going to go? Who are you going to call? Ghost?
UFO Jesus.
For sure, Ryan. We're coming to pick him up.
Right?
Who? But really, who do you go to? I understand. Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead, Vinny.
I was going to say, I don't know. In all seriousness, I don't know. I wouldn't want to send it to world leaders because most of them, not the greatest. I wouldn't send it to the military. I wouldn't send it to anything. We want some genuine representative, civilian representative. I'm sure so many people would say, Ross Coulthard, Lou Elizondo, so many names out there that you could suggest, but I don't know. I really don't. David Attenborough, that name always comes up.
What was that name?
David Attenborough.
What's he gonna do? Narrate your? They picked them up.
Also, what are they going to be speaking English to us?
Telepathically.
Oh yeah, they do. You'll know what's going on, right? And also, I don't know who. I feel like, to me, Avi would be the most trustworthy person. But I'm a civilian. How am I going to get a hold of Avi Loeb? They might know where he is. I'll be like, okay, you pick me up, then we pick him up. Is that the deal? And we'll pick up Vinny and Carol on the way because they asked the question. But, I don't know Michio Kaku, but how would I get in contact with these people? If an alien even was hanging out in my basement, I don't have contact with these people. Can I get a biological sample to send to Vinny, and then Vinny can reach out to all the people he knows, and then maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. No. I could just jump on FaceTime with a few people and go, "Here's the freaking alien."
Yeah.
Say hello.
So I'll send pictures first. I'm about to blow up your phone on Signal because I have an alien or I'm getting picked up by a spaceship. Be outside with your contacts ready. Yeah. But now we have a plan. So
there we go.
There we go. Yep. Now we do have a plan. You heard it. First people here to say it. This is the plan. If an alien just happens to pop up on your, back porch tonight, just give us a call. We'll handle it. We'll take care of it. Um, but really, though, I mean, yeah, I think like a scientist would probably be the best, you know, person, like a trusted scientist. That's probably going to be the best person to go to, um, because if it's like a government official, like what are they really going to be able to do at the end of the day? So working, I think, hand in hand with both parties and just developing like a deeper understanding. I think it's going to take more than just government, people in the government, you know, a lot of people working together. But um, so yeah, I have uh, Drakey, so he is going to be a co-host with me on some of the episodes, and I just want to quickly introduce him. And I know that he's going to have like a question for you guys. So yeah, so let's just go ahead and just bring him on really quick.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you. Thank you for being on the show. Definitely nice to meet you guys. Hopefully, I sound okay. Um, okay, very good. Yeah, this is the first time ever doing this, so bear with me a little bit. Trying to work out the kinks and everything. Hope everybody is enjoying the show. You know, I've been listening in the background. Some good information. And in a way, sorry, just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am essentially an enthusiast. You know, I'm still trying to learn everything, and that's why watch all these podcasts. After meeting Caro, it just like the whole world just exploded. It used to be just from like watching Ancient Aliens to like stuff like time travel and extraterrestrials, Bigfoot, cryptid stuff like that. And then meeting her, it's like the whole world seemed like it opened up. I'm like, holy moly, like it's a lot of stuff.
That's
And
what
then just
you guys did for me, for real.
yeah, and then just recently the whole, like just hearing everything, all the news come out, I'm just like, whoa, um yeah, more than what I been used to, or like I said, I was just always more of an enthusiast, trying to learn a little bit more, and it is very exciting to me. But yeah, that's kind of my backstory in a way. Definitely awesome to meet you guys who've done this for a long time. um but yeah, like one of my questions was, it's just a general question. Out of everybody that everybody or every event, what was the most, I guess, moving, not to be cheesy, but what was the most moving to you guys?
That's an amazing question.
Yeah, I know. So you can think about it. I think like when the language got introduced officially, it was that moment when Max Moskowitz was hanging out with Lou Elizondo in, where were they? Oh my gosh,
San Marino.
San Marino, and he and Lou Elizondo read the language like from his mouth. I think that I definitely felt a little like less. I felt kind of vindicated because I'd been following the topic for so long. So that was kind of like a tear shed moment for me. And then yeah, I think that was the first one. There's been many since for me because it's been so exciting for the past few years.
Good answer.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd
Awesome.
say mine would probably be the waking up on the morning of I think December 17th, when the New York Times story had broke. Seeing that after, I'd been in the subject since 2011, and it was seeing the years of struggle to really get any kind of information was just monotonous and disheartening for so long, that waking up that day and learning so much of what you hoped was happening in the background, that there had been programs and these things were being studied, just learning all that was like, right, things are about to change. I remember it so well. That really, really kicked me, into the subject even further, from just basic research to, let's go, let's get this out now. It's time. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm sure there's been many other moments since, but that's the standout.
Okay, no, very good. I do have one more question. Um, hopefully, we still have enough time. What has been, once again, cheesy? What has been the most moving encounter that you've experienced? Like,
Priscilla, I know you got some, girl.
Oh my goodness. I think the first sighting. I don't know if it's considered an encounter because I don't didn't have any communication with the lights that I saw as a child. But they definitely had some beautiful feelings of just like love and joy, and I'm gonna be that person and be like, I felt like I was one with this bigger thing, and it was all good. The first encounter for me was definitely the first. It was so moving because as a child, uh, seeing that, like people get excited over fireworks, but I'm seeing these glowing balls of light. So the first one will always stand out to me because it was the most beautiful. And it was the first time I had seen something anomalous and knew that like everything was so much bigger than I was being told, even as a child.
That's a good answer. I guess I've only really had one encounter when it comes to something anomalous. That's when I saw the strange lights on the mountain in Colombia last year, the first season. But just to kind of switch the answer around a little bit, some of the best encounters that I've had since I've been in this subject are not with an intelligence in that. It's with the people in the subject,
Okay.
friends that I've made online and meeting them in real life. Like, them encounters are some of the best times ever, like hands down. So that's kind of a little twist on the answer there.
Okay, very good. No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to know, different types of, experiences. Everyone that we will talk to, everyone that we're talking to. Like for me, I have very minimal. Always fascinated, like I said, but very minimal. So I'm definitely interested to hear and excited to hear everybody's stories, stuff like that. So I think it'll be a good time.
For sure.
Yeah, I think also that's part of the reason why I, wanted to have Drakey as a co-host with me as well, is because, I'm both of us, we're certainly not coming at this from like the perspective of we're experts, because we're not, like, at all. It's actually quite the opposite. Like, more curious as to what these things are, being able to like be vulnerable to ask those questions and talk to people, and then hopefully other people are feeling the same way. They're in a position where they want to know more, and they may not have people to like talk to, or just like a cool place to listen about all of these things. And so um yeah, so we've, Drakey and I have had many conversations. Like, you guys will see that, like, the humor, as the show evolves, because as kind of like a newbie, your mind, like, my mind like travels to places, and I like to get into that weird. I don't know. I like to think a lot and like go into these weird places with my mind, and so I think we're gonna do a good job at doing that, Drakey. So anyways, let's like give him a hand. Like, so glad to have you and introduce you. And thumbs up. Whoa.
I'm still getting used to the whole where my camera's at and all that stuff. Yeah, that's for, like I said,
You're
first
doing
new
great.
experience. Thank
You're a
you.
natural, both of you. And I know that if you're friends with Caro, then you're a good guy. So
I try to
there's
be.
that too.
I like what you said. I just I want to definitely uh, talk with a lot of people about their experiences, because I want to know, like it just feels as though I'm that much closer to I guess disclosure. Uh, but yeah, I think this will be an awesome time, good experience as well.
Good deal. Yeah. Thank you for hopping on. So yeah, thanks for all the questions. They were good ones. We'll chat after this, and you know, dive deeper into our crazy talks, and see how we can have another like cool new episode and keep this whole thing going. So um there you have it, guys. I will go ahead and continue with Vinny and Priscilla, but thanks Drakey, that's him. So
We'll see you guys
we
next
have a
time.
lot for them.
See you
All right.
later, man. Good
Yep.
to meet you.
Good meet- Yep. And
Bye.
thanks for being on the show. Have a good
Great
one.
to meet you. Have a good one.
Bye. What's up? Yeah. So yeah, he's actually a colleague, old colleague of mine, and so it being like that corporate environment, right? Like you don't talk about stuff like that, but just kind of came about, and we wanted to put, at first it was going to be like let's do something on our industry and what it is that we do, and then we realized, you know what, like that's boring. Like we don't want to do that. Like let's talk about like, and quote his words was, let's talk about weird stuff, right? So that's yeah. So yeah, good to introduce him on. Um, so yeah, I kind of like want to wrap things up. I think this is like kind of a good stopping point. And then let's talk about just what you guys have going on. I know, Vinny, you're going to be in Roswell. Priscilla, I know you have some shows coming up. So, Priscilla, what do you have going on? Where can people catch you? Where can everybody get to know you?
You can pretty much find me anywhere under the handle that's on the screen at quantum_Wytch. Wytch is spelled WYTCH. I'll be virtually presenting at Roswell. And my presentation will be about dreams and dream encounters, since so many experiencers tend to sort of have like either lucid dreaming after an encounter, or some sort of astral event or entity visits, or some confusion about this is supposed to be sleep paralysis, but I woke up with physical markings. So just kind of exploring the dream realm on the topic in relation to entities and their visitations that they make to people.
And that's going to be, you said at when is that?
So I believe that I'm presenting on the 30th at 6:30. I'm not sure if that's Eastern. I'll get that posted.
Cool.
It's going to be just a little half-hour presentation virtually. I don't know how they're doing it at the virtual ones at the symposium. I don't know if you like watch it on the screen. I have no idea how it's going to work when you're there physically, but I will be there virtually. So we'll see everyone virtually, and I'll be watching everybody else virtually as well. Creep in behind my computer.
Cool deal. That sounds super awesome. What about you, Vinny?
Yeah, so I am obviously going to be in Roswell. I actually head down to London this Tuesday to meet up with Graham Rendell, my colleague and friend from UAP Media UK. And we are actually doing something pretty special in London that day. I cannot say today, but by the time we're there, I think people will start seeing things appear on both Graham and my social media platforms. And I can't wait for people to see that. Then the next morning, Graham and I fly out from London to Los Angeles, and then we get a connecting flight to Albuquerque. We have a day and a half doing things in Albuquerque, which I can't say again yet, before we head to Roswell, where I'll be speaking 4 times over the conference. I can't wait to just meet lots of people and, yeah, have a great time.
Sweet. Well, that's awesome. Like, I'm so happy we got to do this. It's the first episode. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Like, honestly, for taking time. I know you guys are very, very busy people. You didn't have to be here with me, but you are. So thanks again. Yeah, thank you so much. And as far as, if you guys want to check out more about Vinny and Priscilla, all the information is in the description. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. And please do put in the comments anything that you guys would want to talk about next, or anyone in particular that maybe you'd want to see, or just anything at all. Your thoughts, whatever. Just drop them down so that I can take a look at those, which I will. But other than that, I will be catching you guys next time. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Peace out, fam. And Vinny and Priscilla, just like hang out, okay?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
And bye, chat family. You guys are awesome, by the way. Love you guys. Peace.